Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend Matt, the lumberjack landlord. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing super good. The other two were fun, but this one,
This
I'm
one,
really pumped.
yeah, this one's going to be interesting. So,
Yeah.
we've talked about on my channel Bank of America's zero down program a couple of times.
Mhm.
I have seen some passionate
Mhm.
replies,
Yeah.
bordering on
I've
actually
seen
some were deleted. Let's just be very clear.
I've seen ignorant. Yeah.
Ignorant.
Yeah. Ignorant.
They've read the title and maybe the bullet points, but they don't understand it. So
Right.
basically, if you read the Bank of America program, it's now in 5 cities. Let's see if I remember them: Detroit, Charlotte, LA, Miami. I don't remember the fourth one or fifth one.
LA needs another program.
Yeah, I don't remember the other one. But anyways, I talked about it yesterday.
Uh-huh.
So in the program, and I think what set people off is it says we basically are doing this program in areas that are basically not white. And some people have replied basically very angrily saying, this is racist, this is reverse racism, all of these
No
things.
such thing, but okay.
But I mean, I'm just telling you what was
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. No, understood.
So when in doubt, what do? I go read it. And it has nothing to do with skin color. It is
Okay.
not based on skin color.
Okay. What's it based on?
It's basically saying it's basically in areas dominated by Hispanic or African American residents.
Okay.
So it's very interesting because one thing that if you understand the history of housing, lending has been racist historically. It has been. It just was.
70s.
I don't know when it started or stopped or when it was illegal, but there was this thing known as redlining.
Yep. I think that was
Basically banks would draw lines around areas and say we lend there and we wouldn't lend there.
okay.
That's not cool. That's not okay. Bad, right? Racism, bad. So basically what this appears to be is almost reverse redlining.
Okay.
Basically, it looks like they're acknowledging we have underserved these communities, which is factually correct.
It's factually correct. Yes.
You can't argue. It is factually correct.
It's
and if you are upset
correct.
about a fact, shame on you.
It's fact.
It's a fact.
Fact.
Stop it. We were, bad things have happened historically. We have underserved communities. It's a fact. But when I read through this, I actually think there will potentially be some unintended consequences.
That's exactly what I totally agree with you.
Because again, it's not a skin color thing. Near as I can tell, if you're buying in this now, I don't know, flipped redlining or whatever the opposite is,
yeah,
you can be any skin color. The skin color is not the thing. It's basically, hey, we as a bank have ignored this area. We want to do right by this area. We want to give this area a little bit more love. Anybody who wants to buy there can buy there. It's not a skin color program, at least as far as I can read. It's an area. So assuming this takes off, you could see some really fast gentrification. And you could see areas like this, frankly, double and triple in price. If you get an area that starts to gentrify and is getting extra love and attention, those loans, by the way, become more secure, right? If you're buying dumpy houses at 60 that people are fixing up that are now worth 160, those loans become good. Yep. So this might be a way for banks to do basically pay for the sins of the past, reinvigorate, or whatever the right word is, basically bring attention to areas that deserve it. I mean, this could be a good thing, but it also will have an unintended consequences of making homes more expensive in these areas. So get ready. I think housing is going to go up. Assuming this program takes off, you could see housing spike in the cities that get this attention. What do you think?
Of course. I mean, it's for 50 years it was don't lend inside the circle, right? And now it's don't lend outside the circle.
Well, no, come on.
less lend.
It's not saying that at all.
For this,
Bank of
this
America
program,
will lend everywhere.
agreed, but their focus
We
for this
will give you a
program is in
little
this one
extra
area.
help here.
Right. But what does that do for that area?
It brings a microscope to that area and more
Of
people
course.
look there. Agreed.
Exactly. Well, and
It's
there's
not that they
also-
stopped lending elsewhere.
No, agreed. But meaning that their focus has changed. Their
Yeah.
focus is over here now, not over here.
Yes.
But my point is that the funding being available in that area where it's never been available before, those numbers are depressed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you know, you and I, right? Somebody comes up to us and says, "Hey, I'll sell you that building for $100,000." Hey, if it was 6 blocks that way, it's worth $500,000.
Right.
So if it's $100,000 here, I'll pay for it, but it's also a demilitarized zone.
No,
And so, who am I going to get for a tenant? Likely,
absolutely.
that's going to be a challenge. But this is the part where this almost might be smart.
No, I think so.
Right? Because what are we doing? We're actually getting more supply online that was previously couldn't be supplied.
Yeah. Again, the more that I look at this, again, you got to, it still has to, there still has to be guardrails and,
Of course.
But this may, well, I actually won't say may. I think this will raise the price value. Actually, you know what? Raise the value, because it will raise all values in areas that were depressed because you couldn't get loans. Like, think about this. There are areas, and again, Detroit's one of the markets. I have heard Detroit offers cheap housing. I don't know that for sure. I've never shopped there.
I almost started buying there. Yes.
So let's just assume there's a whole stretch of 1950s homes that you could be had for 40 grand. Well, guess what happens today? You can't get a Fannie Freddie loan. It's below the loan limit. It just is.
Correct.
Now you get Bank of America that says, hey, we want to take care of that area.
Right.
We want to sprinkle some goodness on that area. That area will increase in value almost overnight.
Yes.
It will certainly increase over 24 months.
100%.
Because it takes time to buy, repair, reinvigorate, do another one, do another one, do another one. But, you know, here's the magic sauce in all this. Bank of America comes in and does 5% of an area. That will be enough to attract other investors that see capital going there. That's what happened there's a zip code in my market called 93701. It used to be drug infested. Like, it was Oxy Row or whatever the drug of choice was. It was bad. I mean, it was like, I'm not sure I'm going to drive through that at 1 p.m. Like, I might drive around that area.
Got it.
Bad. The city, this started about 10, 12 years ago, started spending big money. They attracted out LA developers. And now, fast forward 8, 10 years later, there are 1 bedrooms in that area going for $2,000 a month, where you couldn't rent a 1 bedroom for $300 a decade ago. Brand new stuff, mixed use, beautiful areas. That could happen.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, if Bank of America stays with the program, it has to be a multi-year.
Yep.
It'll take 5%. If they come in and help 5% of an area kind of reinvigorate, that will be enough to take other capitalists, other investors there. And you will see it in the entire neighborhood rechange. But let's be clear, those neighborhoods are about to get more expensive. That is a unintended consequence.
For sure. And then there goes some affordable housing for sure. Right? Like, largely, like, creating something, but maybe it's supply that doesn't exist right now.
That's the key.
Is the house is dilapidated, and it needs to be fixed up and brought forward so somebody can actually then.
Yeah, because near as I can tell, a lot of these areas, the next step for these houses is demolition.
Yeah, sure.
Scraped.
Sure. Yep. How do you think this differs from opportunity zones?
Well, opportunity zones are pitched to investors, not homeowners. That's the big difference. Opportunity zones are very much investors. They're also often anchored off of a major thoroughfare, a freeway, whatnot, because they're basically looking for warehouses and stuff. This does feel very residential, very owner-occ. And I think a program like this will benefit. I mean, again, it depends. I don't know how big a pile of money they have for this, but this could be life-changing for generations. I mean, think about a grandma in a house in Detroit. Let's assume this grandmother doesn't sell.
Yep.
3, 4, 5 years later, 50% of her street is remodeled. All of the, property taxes are up, values are up.
Sure.
This grandmother who's lived in the home since the 40s or 60s or whatever it's been, her net worth is going up, right?
Yeah.
And I think net, this could be, originally coming into this, I was like, 0 down loans, really? Are we doing that stuff again? But because of the ignorant responses I got, because I wasn't sure, right? I read the headlines like everybody else.
Sure.
I'm like,
sure.
let's go read this damn thing.
Yep.
And it appears, I think they're, again, if they concentrate it, it could change neighborhoods. And by changing neighborhoods, it means it's going to raise the values. It's going to gentrify. You can argue, is gentrification good or bad? That's on you.
Yep.
But I may not be as down on this program as I was originally.
So what most people don't know, here comes the lumberjack's brain bucket. What most people don't know is that Bank of America had a program almost exactly like this, where they were giving $17,500 towards closing costs and down payment.
Yep.
I would be willing to bet you that this program comes from the success that they had in that other program.
I would agree with you. Yes.
Okay. I think their numbers are skewed based on that program being in effect the last 2 years.
Could be.
So my concern, so I think that it's not a cure-all, but it is, I think it's a great idea. Again, anytime that you can take a house that's currently out of service, and no one is in it, and now we are putting somebody in it, I love it.
It's a good idea, right? Yeah,
absolutely. Because now you're actually creating supply, right? You're actually creating supply now because no one was using it. No one would, it's only a net gain.
It's a net gain. Yeah.
It's a net gain.
And I think, again, these neighborhoods, if you own, like if you're the grandmother in my example and you don't sell, right? Because there will be some grandmas that sell to investors.
100%. Sure.
They will get their check. They'll move on. They'll move in with family. Whatever happens, happens. But again, if you hold on and you let the neighborhood improve around you, that's awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just gave them a retirement package that they never thought that they were ever going to have. And now that house isn't like, well, what are we going to do with the house when grandma leaves? It doesn't matter. It's worth $15,000. What can we do with it?
Yeah, exactly. It's less than my car. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not really worth anything because it's also one of 4 houses even on the block that has somebody still living in it. And there's 20 other vacant ones.
Yeah.
So I love it when you can take an underutilized asset and utilize it. And it's a net add. I think that they're basing the numbers based on that $17,500 program. I don't know that, but I believe that.
Yeah. And again, what you're talking about there is basically during the pandemic, they rolled out a first-time homebuyer program. And what you're saying is those numbers probably look pretty good because we had 40% appreciation.
Correct.
And we had record low interest rates. So guess what? All the payments are being made. Shocking.
And record low job.
Yeah.
Job
loss. Unemployment.
So
yeah. So if they take that once in a generation, once in a century event, and then they build off that, like that will continue. You're right. Maybe, I don't know. It could be.
Hopefully they didn't borrow, open door offer pad and those algorithm.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But like I said, so I love when you're taking an asset or when you're taking a liability, right? A house there that's
it's
liability. Love that you're turning it into an asset. Love that. Love that the fact that they're making it end user driven, right? It is residential homeowner driven.
It's great.
Love that.
Yeah. I think.
And
I could see the dominoes playing out. Cause again, if I have seen neighborhoods change.
Yep.
There's a zip code in Fresno called 93702. Me and about a dozen other investors found a little pocket, and we together bought and flipped about 200 homes over the last 2 years in this pocket. You drive down the street, you wouldn't even know. It's fundamentally different. More than 50% of the homes, completely different. You can change markets. And by the way, change like the 50% or whatever the number is we didn't touch. They're off. The prices went up $100,000. They're in a better position. So I'm actually encouraged. Again, you have to have guardrails. You can't set up, future foreclosures and all of those things. But man, they don't have to push that first domino very far to get more investors coming. and you could change entire neighborhoods. It could be a very good thing.
Yeah, I think it could be. I think the challenge will be at that point is it will be jobs. What are the jobs that are going to be there but if you look at it, right, we've run businesses. And when we look at it, when we're saying, okay, we're going to launch this new site in this area, we're going to launch it in this area because there's a lot of the type of skill or education that we need for that area. But sometimes literally this is the leading cause now for organizations picking a different site, availability of affordable housing.
Well, that, and if you start really changing a neighborhood, businesses will move there.
Correct.
Right. The corner store right now that looks like a freaking, war zone, they'll drop the bars. They'll do this, they'll do that. I mean, I've seen it change, right? There's little pockets of Fresno that over the last 20 years I've had a part in upgrading. It doesn't happen overnight, but it also doesn't take a lot to get started. Right. So I'm cautiously optimistic that this really could lead to changed neighborhoods. And I think that's a good thing, right? Taking out of service or ignored taking properties that can't get bank financing, giving them bank financing, having that attract others will improve neighborhoods, I believe.
I think so. I think that no matter what, the rate of default in that program will be higher than other programs, or will be higher than, I think it will be. I think over a 5-year period, I think you'll have higher default rate there. But
I don't know.
We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, I mean, it absolutely could. I mean, logically speaking, you could be right. But where I'm going with this is, as long as they can get through the first 2 years, even if at 100% financing, I think if they can make payments for 2 years, they will have enough equity where they won't be in a problem. Because again, if you can get through the first 2 years and you start attracting other investors who don't need this program, the equity will be in a position where if they do get in trouble, they just sell.
It's very interesting from the perspective of it truly is Bank of America central planning.
It is. Yeah, basically it is the reverse redlining. That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. So this is really fun. I mean, I was in my PTSD had me lean back on zero down going, we're really doing this again.
Agreed.
But thankfully, responses made me actually read the damn thing.
Now it's zero down and no credit impact.
Zero down, zero closing costs, no minimum credit score, no PMI.
Is Fannie and Freddie taking these loans?
It did not appear so. Bank of America is going to portfolio them. Now, you and I both know Bank of America does this enough. Fannie Freddie goes, we want to help. Could happen. Could happen. So,
and then they'll have to work something out on the PMI side, because I think for Fannie and Freddie to have it, it actually has to have PMI.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I think that's one of the Fannie Freddie bylaws.
Well, guess what? They just cut it out of the cost of the loan. It's lots of things they could do.
It's good and scary what banks will do when they see the market shift.
And let's be very clear. Why are they doing this?
Because there's no refis anymore.
Banks are in the business of lending.
Absolutely.
And we talked about this for months. They will start getting more and more creative. This is just one example. And there are more coming.
What was it? There was a vendor that I had read something on. I don't remember what it was, but it was something along the lines of they landed a massive government contract, and literally every single gun that they shipped to the government contract, the joke about it was each one of those guns was wrapped in $100 bill.
Oh,
because it basically is $100 loss for the company to deliver that. So it'll be really interesting thing to see, because I think that I'm not one of those guys who thinks all big corporations are stupid.
No,
they're generally speaking, they're smart people there that help come up with some of this stuff. Some of it's a complete and utter collapse, and some of it actually might be a good idea.
Yeah, I've been in these meetings. I've sold to banks. I've been in those boardrooms, and I would say the ideas are often well-intentioned, but sometimes where the tippity top and the 17 layers both below, the telephone game breaks down, and what lands on the street is just a mishmash of unattainable stuff.
I tell you, if this thing really takes root and you start to see some copycats, start to see some other vendors that say, let's do this, but everybody likes to tweak it a little
Yeah,
bit. Right?
exactly.
And it's like, okay, how's the next guy going to tweak it a little bit? And then like, what difference is that going to make? So
No, this could lead to a huge problem. And I've said that if this zero down program gets copied, it will be tweaked into problematic.
have they said how many dollars they're putting into this program? I didn't see
No, they basically highlighted this as a test, these 5 cities. It did sound like they want to go bigger, but we'll see. It's not clear yet.
the $17,500, I believe, was for 5,000 people. I believe.
Yeah, so 5,000 across 5 cities, as big as this on this list, is not big enough to destroy a market. But if you go to a little circle, it could have an impact.
Well, and that's the other thing too is that now you're going to be super focused. But to that end, do they take that and the 5,000 that they do with the 17.5? Do they make it 5,000 in each of those circles?
Yeah.
That's where that's where I think I'd love to get some just clarity on density.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. Let's assume somebody whispered in your ear and said, this is Bank of America's. I'm going to call it a buy box because I don't know what else to call it, right? Reverse redlining. This is where we're going to invest. And we're going to do 1,000 units in this little pocket. And let's assume you get whispered that in your ear. Do you try to get ahead of that? Yeah, I think so too.
Of course. Of course. But I don't probably get ahead of it the same way you do. I get ahead of it and I get into those and I probably hold until literally just holding dead money for a year or two. And then I sell it as the next lot of projects. Something that I don't even have
so
to
you
touch.
buy it, hold it as is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like land banking.
Yep.
You would be the second trough.
Yep. That's probably if it's a farm market, like let's say it was Detroit.
Well, let's assume it's your backyard. I mean
backyard. No backyard. Oh heck no. If it were my backyard, I would get in there and
I'd go.
I would go like rehab. Watch the rent start out at 700, 900, 1,100 bucks, and then 12 and 15 and 18. Mike, that happened in the town next door. With the one town that I'm in now, a 4-bedroom was renting for 2 years ago. A 4-bedroom would rent for about 2,000 bucks a month. 2 years ago, 2,000 bucks a month. Now it's 3,000 bucks a month. But the town next door, you can get a 4-bedroom for 1,300.
Yeah.
Now it's 2,200.
Yeah.
That market actually went up more.
Yeah. So it's really funny. I think this program, again, if you're in the backyards, you could figure it out. I don't know how you figure it out, but that's for you to figure out because these are not in Fresno. So I'm not going to bother. I'm not looking because it's not my market. But yeah, I think investors can make a lot of money if you're in those markets. Again, I'd go ham if I was like, if they'd hit my zip code. Oh,
do you remember the text that I sent you? Probably at this point, it was probably a year ago. And I said, would you ever do anything in Detroit?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was looking at Detroit because I was like, you know what? You could literally buy homes for between $2,000 and $15,000.
Yeah.
And I just said, we can send 50 people there and just do house. And the only reason that I said no to it was because I couldn't do enough fast enough to change an area.
Yeah, exactly. This might do it.
There
you go. Well, do me a favor. Where can people find you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and Instagram, as well as my live stream, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sundays.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Mike.